Some students may just close the database and they don't know where it is, and they keep on doing this. They open the application and they look at the latest creations. So for instance, the latest creation will be at the top list here. If I open this, there it is. But this is the wrong way to go about this. So basically you have to save the file. So file, save database, not object, save database as. So put it in the folder that you're creating, so that you can always go there and double click on it rather than doing this weird way. Yeah? So in this case it is on the desktop in the folder that I've created for the college, and it's database underscore your reference number underscore Clark W. So I'm saving it in that folder. When you see these yellow notifications, always accept them. If it tells you yes, no somewhere, say yes, because you trust your creation. So here we say enable content. If I close this now, it is saved in the folder that I created for submission, for part A submission. You see, I can create even a subfolder. So I save there the activities that I'm not going to submit as PDFs, yeah, just as a backup. And it doesn't matter, they're not going to tell you anything if you submit that. So here so far I've got only activity 1 with the proper naming conventions. And the database now is here. So I haven't lost it. I don't have to go there, get access, and do this funny way of accessing my files. I saved my file in a folder. I just go and double click on it. Each time I want to save the work, I don't say file save as, I just close it in order to save it. My database so far is like this. Let me just populate it now. The quickest way of doing this is to delete the relationships. Now you have to be careful, because these relationships have to be re-established, because if you don't have relationships, your queries will not function, not properly but at all. So be careful about that. This is done only to quickly put in the data, regardless of primary and related tables. When you fill in the customer table, if you fill in the customer ID 1, you don't fill in the customer ID 1 again, but for the sales seat table, you have to put all the IDs with all of this data, yeah, inside. One by one you have to fill in all the rows, but not for the customer or for the event ID. Once you put the first ID, you don't put the first ID again, yeah. First of all, that will violate integrity rules. So because you have a primary key, will only accept 1, and it will protest if you type 1 again. And in any case, it's the same thing. Event ID, its dependents are always the same for ID 1. So yeah, as long as you understand what dependence means. Another problem that we have here is the auto number. If we put auto number for this one, unfortunately we won't be able to put after customer ID 3, we won't be able to put 72, because automatically we go to 4. So basically it would be good if we change this customer ID to number. So that's one thing that you have to take into consideration. It doesn't affect your activity 1. So we're doing this. Let's go to design view, save it as number. See, some things you have to realize what you're doing, and you take a note as well in case this is a question in activity 5 where you're evaluating. You take a note of this to remember it. Go back to datasheet view. Let's fill in the data. I will do this quickly. You will have the paper in front of you. I just use this way now because there's no paper in front of me, and I will quickly fill in the tables. Remember what we did with a customer ID data type. So here we have customer ID 1, and surname is Bell, house number is 7, postcode is caps FE3 space 1LM, and basically I will fill in this quickly. And here are the tables that I've just completed. And remember that for the customer table, I was forced the customer ID to put it as number, not auto number, in order to be able to put 69 and 72 after 3. And now all we need to do is go back to the relationships, primary key on top of foreign key, customer ID, enforce referential integrity, create. Same thing with event ID, enforce referential integrity, create. I've got my tables. In case I lost them, always right click in the void here and say either show all if something is hidden. So for instance, let's say hide, yeah? So show all will reveal it. Or if it doesn't show at all, you say show table and you double click on it from the list here. If you double click on one now, it will create a TBL customer 1, it will say, see, _1, because you've already got it here. So basically let's just hide this table, yeah, let's just delete it, and we move on to adding validations.